This just shows to you that it doesn't have to necessarily be the group that you came from. Because even though you came from a certain group or a certain tribe, like I keep mentioning in this episode, they don't necessarily give you that feeling like you belong. You might feel like you don't have a close relationship with your family. And if that's the case, then you need to create your own tribe, a sense of belonging somewhere else. And that's totally normal. It's totally okay to do that. And I want to tell you how. Welcome, everybody. My name is Eric, one of the hosts here, and I'm glad to have you all back. We are going to be talking about something very important, and that is sense of belonging. A feeling that we all need in our lives, even if we don't normally sense it. And what do I mean by sense? Well, I mean by feeling like you're close to people in your life, which I think is a really big struggle that all of us have these days. But before I dive too deep into it, I would also like to introduce the one, the only, Anita.
Hi, everybody. I'm Anita. Nice to be here again.
Great to have you, Anita.
I feel like I belong here.
Oh, you definitely do.
In this Taiwanica podcast family.
You know, one of the things about belonging that I just want to mention really quick.
Sure.
We created Taiwanica in order to create a sense of belonging for everyone who is listening right now to understand not only the difference between Taiwan and the USA, but also now about themselves and the feelings around them. So this, for us, this is a very important episode.
Yes, it is. I think you mentioned about something. It's not just about crossing culture. It's about, crossing age, cross basically everything. Belonging is you belong to a place. You feel safe. Doesn't matter who you are. What language do you speak? That's what I learned a long way, of my self-story, which I will be sharing later. But I think sense of belonging is such a beautiful thing, and it's definitely essential for everyone. Again, it doesn't matter you are a baby or adults or 70, 60, 90 years old. You all need that.
And Anita, what is a sense of belonging? What does it mean to you?
I think that sense of belonging is definitely you seeing yourself as who you are. You accept yourself of who you are, and you're proud of being who you are. And then you start to have connections with other people who has the same ideas of you, like you. And you just, in this place or with this person, in this situation, in a certain situation, you feel you're comfortable in your own skin and you have the right to speak up to what you are thinking, and it's just completely safe and acceptance.
I like the explanation. It really sings true to how everyone should feel in their lives with the people around them and being themselves. So what I'd like to ask you now is, do you feel like a sense of belonging right now? And have you had moments in your life where you didn't?
That's a really good question. Wow, it's my turn to share my story now. Ready? I definitely have. First, answer the first part of your question. Yes, I feel a sense of belonging here in this family with you, Eric, with my son, with Eric's family, with my neighbors, with friends. But it's not always like this. When I first got here, it was 2 years ago. I have a very long time struggling with the feeling of safe. At that moment, I didn't look deep into it. My sense of insecurity, as the root is the belonging. I just feel not safe. It's not like I'm physically in danger. I don't know where should I go. What should I do with my life? I don't know if I'm saying the sentences that I'm supposed to say. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. It's all like doubts about every little things that I was doing. And then I just don't feel safe. I just feel I want to run away. I feel there is no space, no place for me. And I was just so depressed, which is another good sign that if you feel depressed, you feel lonely, that's a really good sign you don't have your sense of belonging. So at that point, my situation was really, really bad. So I had to take serious look of my situation. And that's when I discovered I don't feel belong Even though I was with Eric, he's my family, but my situation there was I was pregnant with my son, 3 months pregnant, moved to a foreign country with the only person I know is Eric. In this foreign country, in this house that it's not even ours. We shared an apartment with Eric's mom, and I had no identity. Like I was applying for the green card, but didn't hear anything back from the government yet at that point. So I have nothing, and I'm not making any income. I'm not doing any job because I don't have my green card, and we at that point we didn't have money, so I feel like I had nothing. So at that moment I was just so depressed and lonely, and I was wanting to give up. I was like, why am I doing here? I remember I told Eric many times, like every day I woke up with no purpose, go to bed with sadness. That's basically my life at that point, every day. And I don't want to be there. So the story is everything that I just pointed out. You don't want to be there. You have this strong feeling like against where you are because you feel like you are in danger and nobody understands you. I only had Eric with me at like I described, I only recognize Eric as my only family. And I trying to recreate this so-called sense of belonging by relying on him on everything. But the result is not what I wanted to gain, which is I feel because I decided to become like a burden to Eric because he has his own life to do, a lot of things he needs to take care of. So I create this kind of burden, and he sometimes we will have fight. So it makes me feel even worse. So I had to go through like the whole meditation to try to find out what is the root that I feel this discomfort constantly. And that's what I found out. I deep down feel I don't belong here. I mean, in America, the whole situation. It was a hard time. It was a very hard time. And then I realized that I have to accept of who I am first. The first thing, the most common thing is identity. I think for a lot of immigrants, maybe they have this kind of situation. But when you're in a country that you don't really familiar with and you don't have identity, it's actually a very scary feeling. Like even though like we said it's just a piece of paper or an ID card or something like that, but it is causing a lot of stress back into your head, like I don't have identity here. So the self-recognize is not there. So I have to create that. And then that's what I see myself this whole time. And I realized I was seeing myself as immigrant of this country. I self-separate me and the country. I created that situation. So I asked myself, what should I do in order to make myself feel that I belong here? At least I started to create my life. So it was scary. It was scary of, try to connect with the people because, in the back of your head, you will have this kind of like rejection. That's really crazy. That's the only thing I think back of my head is like, they won't like me because I'm yellow. This is literally the sentence I keep on repeating back in my head. Like, they're going to accept who I am. No, they're going to see me as just a foreigner. So I was like, the fear of rejection is overpowering of the eager that I wanted to chase of sense of belonging. And then I started to have problems, right? The problem I just mentioned. And then I realized I have to accept myself as part of this country. I live here now. This is my home. I claim this area as my home now. So I started to, getting used to this new idea. Of course, every change takes time. And I think I cannot recall the exact time, how much time I tried to adapt to this idea. Like I belong here. But eventually, I remember that's the very first time I went to the grocery store by myself. And I have never felt so happy about myself ever since I moved to the US 2 years ago. And I think that was one time, probably last year. About last year. There was one time I was just like, I am just gonna do the things by myself. And I went to the grocery store just 5 minutes away. I went there. I got the things I want. I go to check out. I talk a little bit of small talk with the cashier. And on the way back, I feel so powerful. That it's incredible feeling. It's like people probably at this point is like, come on. It just feels like you go to Chengdian to get a泡Mian. That's more than that. You feel like it's going to Chengdian to get the泡Mian because you have this sense of belonging. Because that's what you do, and you feel like it's part of your life. Nobody's going to say no to you. You know, that's the feeling of sense of belonging in a certain level. For me, even before I head out to the grocery store, that's the back of my head. I said, they're going to give me some difficult time just because I'm not white. Those kind of crazy things. And that is what I did. And I went to the grocery store and then went back. And I was so happy. And I feel this release throughout my body. I was like, I can do this. And then I started to do more activity. I went to the library. The library in the USA is incredible. They have a lot of events. And luckily I have my son. So I have this connection with people who also have kids. So that's why I really enjoyed the time that every Monday I got to spend the quality time with my son and to the library meet different babies and moms. Yeah, so that's why I started doing that, and I put in the things that I wanted to do first. I don't let my fear of rejection stopping me anymore. I do the things I want to do. I go out running. Oh my God. I even talk about the first time I went out for running. It was so difficult. But now I went out running. I feel comfortable. I say hello to the people that I encountered at the park. So hope my story isn't too long that bored you. But I think I wanted to emphasize is sense of belonging is really important. It is essential. It's for your daily life. And if you don't have this sense of belonging, you will have a deep feeling of loneliness and depression. And if you feel the same way, I think my story here, the purpose of my story is to encourage you that you are not alone. And later, after I share my story, Eric's gonna share some very valuable lesson about how to find sense of belonging. Yes, you're not alone. And you all, if you're listening right now, you're part of us. You're part of this family. So you belong here.
Very true. And thank you so much for sharing that very vulnerable story that you just expressed. A lot of things, even things that I didn't know about you. The thinking that you were yellow would create a separation between you and the local community is something I had no idea that you were thinking about. So I really appreciate you being very honest in that moment. It's very courageous. And the thing that I want to ask you before I dive into details of sense of belonging is, what do you think is the difference between you when you first got here, your mindset, and now? What do you think was the shift? Was it that you overcame your fear? And if it was your fear, what about your fear changed? Or is it something else that you can identify that made you feel like, okay, I gotta do something to get out of this crazy situation in my mind that I am different from everybody else?
I guess, yeah, overcome my fear is definitely the big thing. And the reason why pushed me to overcome my fear is I feel just sad every single day. And at the point, I'm just like, I gotta stop feeling like this. The moment we decided to move to the US as our mutual decisions. And at that point, I wasn't happy, so I started to blame it on you just because you're from here.
She means me, not you guys.
Yeah, Eric, sorry. So, not only my fear causing me the separation of me from the society that I'm in, also creating the resentment, started to slowly building this resentment between me and my only family, which is Eric. So I realized that I actually didn't even try to, do something. And then I started to, see that everywhere is danger. And I even sabotage the relationship that's very important to me. So when my life started to, I wouldn't describe it as a crumbling down, but when my life there is no bright light in my daily life. That's what I know, that I need to be strong to take the initial action to change this. I need to be strong for myself. That's the biggest push. Don't even mention about I was pregnant with my baby, right? And also is the idea back in my head is I also need to be, if I cannot take care of a baby or anybody if I was in that situation. So that's the biggest push for me to take the switch from fear mindset to be strong, be there for myself. I think that's the sentence I keep on repeating to myself every time I was, having this fear that people won't reject me, will say bad things to me. We all seen this from movies, like the white guy was bullying this Asian little girl, whatever. Just, when you're in the fear, you start to create this illusion. It doesn't even exist. Yeah. So at that moment, it's like, I need to be there for myself so that I can be somebody for my husband, Eric, or my coming soon baby at that point. So I think that's the biggest push for me to overcome my fear.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
大家好，想要跟我们一起学英文吗？ No No No， 我们现在还有新的课程可以一起上咯，那就是情绪管理。Amazing Talker 呢非常棒，开设了一个新的专区，也就是情绪管理专区。那我们呢非常厉害哦 ，Eric and I， 我们两个是情绪管理的专家，所以呢，如果想要跟我们一起上这样的课程的话呢，可以到我们两个的首页去看更多的细节。以下连结开放点选，希望可以赶快跟你们一起上课哦，拜拜。
Wow, well, it seems like you had a big motivation to do it because you weren't doing it just for yourself. You were doing it for your community. And I think that's a big motivator for a lot of people to experience change. And that's something that I'm going to dive into a little bit deeper in today's episode. One of the things that I really want to share is something that a lot of people get confused in with English, and that is a sense of belonging against or versus fitting in. And these two words in English, when you look at them closely, but not too close, they have pretty much the same meaning. You want to basically be a part of a group or be a part of a little community. But there is a difference. And that big difference between a sense of belonging and fitting in is, let's start with fitting in. Fitting in means that you need to change yourself in order to be a part of that group. So say, for example, that group really loves soccer or football for everybody else in the world, but you're not a big fan of football or soccer. But you really want to be friends with these people, so you force yourself to watch this sport or play this sport, even though you don't like it or even if you're bad at it. This is an example of fitting in because you just want these friends. On the other hand, a sense of belonging would be if you really love something and everyone else in that group loves it too. You don't have to pretend to like it. So let's say, for example, you really love art. And you like going to art museums to enjoy art. And you find one or two friends who love doing the same thing. And guess what? When you go out to the art museum together, you all have a wonderful time. You don't have to pretend to like the art. When you see a beautiful piece of art, you don't have to pretend to be like, oh yeah, that's good, I like it, it looks really nice. But inside the back of your head, you're like, oh my God, this is so ugly. Why am I wasting my time here?
Is this a true story of Eric?
I'm a little traumatized. No, it's not true. I really do like art. And if you're a person who actually feels like you belong, you can communicate your feelings about that. You feel open and safe. On the other hand, with fitting in, you cannot. So this is a big thing in the United States that we have an issue with. We have to pretend to be somebody else in order to have the friends that we want. But in reality, if we cannot be the person who we really are, then we actually are creating fake friends, not true friends. What do you think about all this, Anita?
I think yes. And searching for a sense of belonging is in everybody's body. we just eager for this kind of feeling like, oh, somebody knows me. I belong to a certain group. I belong to this club. I belong to this family. I belong to this, certain group of friends. It's just a wonderful feeling, of course, right? And we all been there. That when we're young, we will see fitting in is so-called belonging. So we will be like, oh, everybody's doing that. Everybody's doing that. I should do that too. Because we are in the group. Either it's in the cram school, in your sports team. It all, we all doing the things in the group. And sometimes we don't like the feeling to feel, I think we associate another feeling, strong feeling towards to is left out. We don't want to be the person who is picked for the last in any kind of group. No, I think younger kids, their fear is every time when the students say, oh, you can pick your own roommate for your homework or for your project. We all have this fear like, oh, I don't want to be the one who's not being picked, or because, we just left out, meaning I am not belong to any group. So we are so desperate to belong to a certain group. We are willing to do what it takes to not being left out, which it is when we got confused with fitting in and sense of belonging.
Absolutely. I think it's a great example of what a lot of people are afraid of, is to be picked last or to be left out. And we are all in that kind of situation even when we're not kids. When we're adults, we have the feeling that if we are the one that is basically the stranded one, or the one that is not a part of the group, then we have this humongous sense of anxiety. And actually, science has proven that when you are separated from a group, whatever group you're in, whether it's your job or if it's at your school, it doesn't matter where. If you have a feeling that there is a group inside of that area that all have a happy time and you're not a part of it, your anxiety actually goes up. And so this is a problem for a lot of people these days, because society has started to build these creations and basically, environments that it make it very easy for us to be alone. Social media, our houses, our communities, they are all very easily capable of being put into one little box. Working from home, all of these things can create separation. And so because of this convenience of being able to do things all on your own, which is, humans are totally capable of doing, we're capable of being alone. We don't strive, we don't thrive when we're alone. We have to have some sort of community in order to be our true happy selves. Actually, one of the things that some studies have shown is that in communities, we are the happiest groups of people. So I want to give you two very black and white examples of my life that will help you really have a clear idea. That is not only located for Anita in United States, because it's a very unique experience. I want to give you some experiences that are about moving to different countries, yes, but also building community and not building community, and what are the side effects of those. Okay. So I'm going to start with the positive one, the light side. So when I graduated from the university, I had a great opportunity to move to Mexico, a place that I did not know. I didn't even know Spanish. I knew to say, where is the library? ¿Dónde está la biblioteca? Yes. That's basically
that's the only Spanish I know.
Yes, the limit of mine too back then. I knew a few more words because of high school Spanish education, which, it was good, but I couldn't have a conversation at all. And so when I moved there, I had a humongous sense of anxiety of creating a new community, because all my friends were in the United States. They just graduated, they're figuring out what they want to do with their lives. And I'm over here in Mexico, hanging out with my family who just moved there. And sure, I had my family, but my family and I were not close at the time, because I was, a party college kid for the last 5 years. And now I'm back connected with them. It's been a while. Okay, our things in common have separated so much that it feels like I'm actually talking to strangers, more or less. But because of moving to Mexico, I had an opportunity to create a new sense of belonging, something that I never had to do in my life, something that I always took for granted when I lived in the United States, because when you live with your family, you just naturally can grow friendships outside of that group because it's like your tribe. You have a tribe and they know people outside of the tribe, and those people come into your tribe and they kind of become like an extended part of your tribe. But when you live in the middle of nowhere who you don't know anybody, your tribe's gone. You're basically stranded. And if you look back in the past when our ancestors were out there, if you're alone, you get killed. You get eaten by tigers or dinosaurs. I don't know if there's dinosaurs with humans, but anyways, the point is when you go to a new place, you're starting from the ground up. And I had to go and find my own community. What did I do? I went to a cafe, and I really loved coffee back then a lot. Like a lot. I would drink like 3 or 4 cups a day. And I met this guy. His name is Dodo. Really great name. And he, introduced himself with open arms, and he was about 2 years older than me, and he's like, hey, you can come over here anytime you want, we can just chit chat. And he's telling me all this in Spanish. I'm like, huh? Sí. Which means yes in Spanish. I don't know if you know that, but sí, yes. And so I had no idea what was going on, but I kept going. I kept going back to that cafe because he made really good coffee. And so I went there, and the relationship started to build. And thanks to Dodo, I had my gateway to my new tribe. He introduced me to all of his colleagues. He introduced me to all of his friends. And the tribe just grew and grew and grew and grew. And to the point where a year and a half goes by, and I know a humongous part of the city I'm living in. And thanks to that, they knew me too. And I wasn't pretending to be somebody else. I couldn't pretend to be somebody else because I was living in a brand new place, speaking a brand new language. I'm like, if I pretend to be somebody, it will be really hard. So just be myself. And so I was forced to be myself. And because of that, I felt the most sense of belonging that I've ever felt in my entire life. And it's still the truth in terms of living in a country. Mexico is still the place that I feel the highest sense of belonging when it comes to living in a country. Now, I've told you the bright side. Now I'm going to tell you the dark side. When I was living in Mexico, I had an opportunity to move to Japan and do a job of English teaching. I've mentioned this in some previous episodes. You can go look at that in Eric's personal episode. I think I did it in Chinese too. Yeah, so you can check that out in the episode listing. But what I want to mention today is moving from the place that I have found my sense of belonging to a place that was my dreams. I always wanted to live in Japan. It was like one of my life goals. And I had the opportunity, and I did it. So I moved there. And when I did it, a lot of people here who are listening maybe know Japanese culture, but Japanese culture, just as a brief explanation, is very, very focused on if you are Japanese, you fit in. You belong. But if you are not, then do your best to try to follow our ways. In other words, try to fit in, not belong, right? So Japanese people will accept you to a certain degree, but not, and this is not for every Japanese person, of course, but for a lot of Japanese traditional people, this is the case, where if you want to try to be Japanese, you can do your best, but you're never going to be 100% accepted. And this is a harsh reality that I had to face when I lived in Japan, because I really wanted to belong, just like I did in Mexico, but it was impossible. And because it was impossible, over months and months and months of doing my best, I just realized that all I'm going to do is fit in, not belong in this country. I even changed my hairstyle. I changed my clothing style. I changed the way I talked. I changed the way I drove my car. I changed the way that I presented myself, and all in the hopes that they would accept me. You know, the thing that I already had in Mexico, and I wanted it again in Japan, and it just never became a reality because I couldn't be myself. I was actually shamed for being myself when I first moved there. It's like, why are you talking this way? Why are you acting this way? They always gave me these questions, and it made me doubt myself. And so I realized really quickly that if I wanted to feel a sense of belonging, I would never find it in a Japanese community that was in a traditional area, like where I lived. I lived in a place where the majority of people were old. And because the majority of people were old, their mindset is a little bit old too. So that was a very big reality that I had to face because I was lonely and anxiety built. And I trained myself so much that afterwards, Anita can vouch for me, is that I literally changed as a person. And she helped me realize and come back to being my normal self. Because there was times where I was being this Japanese Eric, and this Japanese Eric wasn't really me. So that's an example that I really wanted to express here to help you get an idea of what it means to be yourself. Is that you have to have a sense of vulnerability. You have to connect with people with the things that you really like to do and really like to think about and really like to talk about. Okay? If someone talks about something that you don't like, it's okay. You don't have to be 100% open to them. But if they do a lot of things that are different from you, then that's a sign that maybe this is not a person who should be in your tribe. Okay? There's billions of people on the planet, everybody. So it's okay if one of the people don't work out. You can find another one. Yeah. Okay? That's what's so nice about living in a country, is that you can meet so many different types of people. And then when you do that, just keep in mind that the way to really know if you belong in that group is this. You ask them for help. Okay, now, Anita, when you hear ask for help, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Being vulnerable. It is like, feels like completely naked, like being truly honest with another person. I think that's what the first thing I can think of.
Absolutely. What is an example of you asking for help when you moved to the USA?
Oh, tons. Friendship or anything. I definitely asked for help many, many times. But the one thing that popped in my head right now is my friend. My friend who, the friend who lives in Taiwan. She's my best friend. The reason when I met her is also very interesting, which might be able to share with you guys today. But I asked for help before. I was having this trouble, having depression, no sense of belonging, feels insecure, all those kind of things. I didn't contact with her at all because I thought, again, my fear has created this illusion for me. I feel like if I, share my downside with her, she'll feel like I am a burden. I'm not good enough to be friends with her because her image to me has always been this positive person, always figure things out by her own. Everything was just gonna be okay in her world. That's how I see her. So I've always seen her not only my best friend, also my role model of life. Like I want to be just like her. And every time I spend time with her, I just learn so much. And mindset wise, my vision of my potential, she always pushed me to do the best that I can. So when I was having this downhill of my own life, nothing has figured out. I completely shut down any possibility to contact with her. Just because my fear was like this. And after we reconnect, I reached out to her. After my situations got settled, a bit better, I reached out to her, and then I being completely honest with her about what happened. Why didn't I contact her? And I tell her the whole story, which is being vulnerable. And she was like, what? She was totally in shock. She's like, one, I'm the one who's seeing you as a role model. Because even though you guys we've been knowing each other for 3-4 years now, my life was like up and down throughout the whole time. She was like, you're the one who's always can get through a difficult time and get back in your feet. You're the one who's being my role model. And then she said, that's what best friends are for. When you have difficult time in your life, your best friends will be there. Your good friends will be there. So I was, of course, 100% moved. I was so emotional after seeing my mom. I was completely moved, and I was so grateful for me, one, being honest with her, two, she's my friend. I just have this pure gratitude that yes, she is my best friend, just because at the very beginning our friendship is always built on the trust and honesty. So that completely switched my view of this world, because that I see, if you being who you are, this is a perfect example. If you truly be who you are, you will find the real person who will be 100% accept you, even though when you're in your very down moments in your life.
Thank you for sharing that. And I gotta say that Anita has tuned into the thing that I think we should definitely chime on for everyone to understand, especially our Taiwanese group, is a sense of belonging can be something that is outside of your family. And Anita just mentioned her best friend being that person, even when she was in her most down and dark part of her life. Her family wasn't even the people that she felt the closest to. In fact, it was this person. And when I say family, I mean her real family, like mother, father, and siblings. This just shows to you that it doesn't have to necessarily be the group that you came from. Because even though you came from a certain group or a certain tribe, like I keep mentioning in this episode, they don't necessarily give you that feeling like you belong. You might feel like you don't have a close relationship with your family. And if that's the case, then you need to create your own tribe, a sense of belonging somewhere else. And that's totally normal. It's totally okay to do that. And I want to tell you how, since we're getting towards that part of the episode, is now I understand what sense of belonging is, and I have great examples to compare my life to. How do I do it? Well, I'm going to give you a couple of steps for you to clearly understand what we've been talking about, and then also give you a little bit of more details of what you can do next in your own life so that you can make these connections further. The first one, we've been praising this word for this episode and for shame. If you haven't listened to shame, definitely check it out. It's a great episode about this word, being vulnerable. Okay, vulnerability, showing your true self, even when you're afraid of doing it, will create the opportunity to have a deep, true relationship with whomever you're talking to. Okay, if they shut you down, automatically they are not meant for you. But if they accept you, which more than likely they will, that connection will be deeper than you can possibly imagine. So being vulnerable, talking about the things you truly love, doing the things that you're passionate about, even if when you're not sure the person will like it or not. Okay, this is definitely the most important, so that's why it's the first one I mentioned. The second one we just talked about, and Anita brought up with her friend, is asking for help. Okay, reach out to people in your community. If you have a really good friend that you need to talk to about an issue, ask them. If you do this, you're giving them the opportunity to be there for you. Okay, Anita talked about her darkest moment, and her friend was there to listen, and they actually exchanged this knowledge about each other, is that we actually think that we're both each other's role models. Wow, what a big impact on their lives. Now they know that not only are they best friends, but they look up to each other. Wow, that's just a very great example. A fun example I have is bailing your friend out of jail. Okay, so if you have a friend that you love and they do something absolutely stupid and they're in jail for it, and you go there and you spend the money to get them out, wow, that's showing that you really care about somebody. You're helping them because they probably called you first. They're saying, please don't tell my mom and dad that I just stole a banana at a store and I'm in jail. Please bail me out. Please get me out of jail. And you do it. That is a huge sign that you care about this person. Now, that's just a ridiculous example, and you can definitely think of your own. Now, the next big thing that a lot of people miss, and I really want you to remember this, is contribution. Okay? Contribution is just you helping out in your community. So a great example is if you have a community or a group of friends of like 3 or 4, okay? And you know that they all need help with a certain activity. So to give you a clear example, when I lived in Mexico, my friend Dodo had a cafe. He worked there with 3 of his friends. And on their busiest days, they had at least 20 clients in there, all asking for coffee and food at the same time. and they only had 3 guys taking care of these 20 people. Okay, there's dirty dishes, there's coffee that needs to be made, there's salads that need to be prepared, sandwiches, pizza, and there's only 6 hands. So I'm just sitting here, I'm saying, all right, let me put on an apron, I'm going to help. And they said, well, we appreciate it, but there's no way we can pay you. I said, that's fine, don't worry, let me just get in here. And so diving into that and contributing to helping them out was one way that I created my sense of belonging there, because I didn't have to do it, but I wanted to do it because I knew it would help them. This is something super important to create in your community, is when you see a need or you see a moment where help is needed, you go for it. Not for any personal gain, just because you know it will make your friends or your community feel much better. And this creates happiness. Okay? The last one I just want to say to you is, whenever you're in a moment like that I just mentioned, you can contribute or you can help, ask yourself or ask these people out loud, how can I help? How can I contribute? If they say, oh no, there's nothing, don't worry about it, but you still see they're struggling, go for it. In the end, no matter what, they will appreciate it. So that is the suggestions that you can take to be able to create this sense of community and a sense of belonging in an easy manner with anyone around you. Because you're definitely in your life, I guarantee it, no matter where you are, what you're doing, student, worker, unemployed, you have a community that needs help some way every single day. You just have to look out for it. And when you do, you'll find it. And then you do it, I guarantee you, this sense of loneliness will start to fade away quickly. So that is the example that I wanted to share. Anita, what is your take on all of that?
That's very, very beautiful and very, very easy to understand. So it's definitely worth repeating that part. If you're listening, just go back, listen to that part that Eric just mentioned a couple of times, and I'm pretty sure you will grow the knowledge, like put it into your own life. And yes, that sense of belonging, I think it's very, very important. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And the last thing is, you will know if you belong or not, because you will feel happy or not. If you're struggling to keep up the pace of everybody else is doing, it's a good sign that you might have to look up a different group. But if you're in this group, you just feel so comfortable. Doesn't mean that you have to always agree with everybody else. There will be disagreeing moment happening, but the purpose is helping each other to grow and help each other to grow deeper bond that you are in the right group for yourself. And the last thing I would like to emphasize is what Eric mentioned about the very last part of you contributing to the community that you're in. It's a perfect balance of finding a sense of belonging, like which your connection with other people, and also when you contribute, you feel really, really good about yourself. So this is a perfect balance. Sense of belonging is not always you connecting with other people. It's also you feel good about yourself, that you can give, you can serve. It's a wonderful, wonderful episode, I think.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that contribution at the end.
Thank you.
Yes, I feel like we have created our own sense of belonging through this episode, and I hope that you, who's listening, can feel it too. And if you feel like you are still stuck about your own sense of belonging, that you feel lonely and want to understand deeper about how to create this more in your life, feel free to reach out. We offer these classes on Amazing Talker right now in emotional healing to be able to guide you through these challenges. And there's a lot of people out there right now who are facing these. And so just so you know, you're not alone, and we can definitely help.
And I would just think of this event. If you come to Amazing Talker and find our profile photo, which Eric will provide the link down below, just go to the Amazing Talker and send a message to us say you are from Taiwanica. We right now open for 3 free trial lessons for the first 3 people who reach out to us.
That's right. It's an exciting little special that we're offering, so definitely take advantage of it while you can. It's November 1st of 2023, so keep that in mind, is that whenever this episode posts, there's going to be a very limited amount of time, so definitely come check it out as soon as you can. Also, definitely check us out on Taiwanica Podcast on Instagram. we are putting up great new slides that Anita has been creating to give you an outline in English and in Chinese about what we are talking about here. So if you have any confusion, not only can you check out those slides, but you can send a message to Anita directly, or me. If you want to talk to me, it's fine. Anita's more fun to chat with about these episodes through there. That's our easiest source. But you can also send us a message on Amazing Talker if you want to talk one-on-one, especially with the courses. Yeah. And one last thing that I want to announce is we're going to do something new. And that new thing is we're going to add Chinese subtitles to our YouTube channel. So if you are interested in reading Chinese while listening to this, you have an opportunity coming at you starting this episode. All previous episodes will not have this, but from this episode forward, we will start adding this opportunity for you to listen and read at the same time. So definitely check it out. It's going to be very exciting and easier for you to understand in case you're feeling a little bit confused about some of the finer details of what we're talking about.
Yes, and one final thing that you just remind me of the Chinese part. So the emotional healing classes that we provide on Amazing Talker will be in Chinese and English.
If necessary, we will definitely do both. Ideally for you, because you're listening to this in English, it will be emotional healing through English to help you open your mind. But if you need to do it in Chinese, we can also do that.
Yes, because emotional healing that we've been emphasizing is to identify your feelings. So we come from a different country. We speak different language. We have deeper level of connection with the words that we are using. So again, it's not focus on English learning. It's beyond language ability. It's about how you express yourself, how to connect with yourself. So just like Eric said, if you prefer, Chinese classes are also available right now.
Absolutely. Well, Anita, I think we have talked up a storm. It's getting very wild over here, so I think it's best for us to head on out.
Yeah.
Well, great episode. Yes, and we will see you again next time.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for tuning in to Taiwanica. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. That helps others find the show, and we greatly appreciate it. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode.